Nicholas Sparks, welcome to Dear Chelsea.
Hey, I'm thrilled to be here. How fun is this?
Oh my God, it's the king of romance.
The king. That's what they say. Aren't you inspiring today? I appreciate that.
No. Oh, I'm here to inspire the whole world. We're in a dearth of inspiration, so I'm here to help, and you're here to help. I was just going over the list of books that you've written. I mean, a lot of them have been made into movies, so a lot of them, but let me just read them out loud to you in case you've forgotten any. Remain is the newest one. That's what we're going to be talking about today, everybody. Remain, Counting Miracles, Dreamland, The Wish, The Return, Every Breath, 2 by 2, See Me, The Longest Ride, The Best of Me, Safe Haven, The Last Song, The Lucky One, The Choice, Dear John, At First Sight, True Believer, 3 Weeks with My Brother, The Wedding, The Guardian, The Nights in Rodanthe. Yeah. I've watched that a couple of times. I like Diane Lane. And who's the guy in the movie?
Richard Gere.
Oh, yeah, of course. They were so hot together. They were in that. Yeah, they were in a couple of A Walk to Remember, Message in a Bottle, which was another classic, and The Notebook, which I think is probably the most popular of them all so far. But what's interesting, we're going to get into your movies and your books that were made into movies and your books that you've written in a minute. But I wanted to talk a little about your latest, Remain, which you co-wrote. Is this the first time you've ever co-written something with anyone?
Well, I did a nonfiction book with my brother years ago, 3 Weeks with My Brother, that you referenced there. And so he and I were the co-writers on that. And then for the last song, the screenplay, I worked with a co-writer on that.
Okay, so tell me about the difference in between that, because you co-wrote with M. Night Shyamalan, who I used to call M. Night Shaka Khan until I could figure out how to pronounce his name properly. So now I can, and I'm pretty excited about it.
This was very different. The way we worked together primarily was I gave him a long leash when it came to the film, and he gave me a long leash when it came to the novel. And the way to think about this is the two of us conceived this story together. And then he did one side of the coin, the film side, and I did the other side of the coin, the novel side. And so I didn't really dig in and hammer down and give long, detailed notes on the screenplay. And he didn't edit, for instance, the novel. We both decided to take this story that we both came up with, and I did my medium and he did his. It's the best way to think about it.
Did you guys check in with each other? Like, did you have tent poles that you had to follow, or any sort of like storyline that you had to stick to so that they would be analogous to each other?
Oh yeah, so here's how it came about, right? It's a very Hollywood thing in the original part. It was, I have people in Hollywood, he has people in Hollywood. My people got with his people. I don't know, they were at a party or something, said, hey, we should get Nick and Knight. They should do something together. I hear this from my Hollywood people all the time, right? And 99% of them amount to nothing. Well, that was in early January 23. And then in March 23, my guy calls me. And he says, you've got a meeting with Knight. It's going to be in Pennsylvania at Knight's place. And the goal for that meeting was I was going to come up with an original story that would work as both a novel and a film, and that would satisfy my readers and his fans. Mm-hmm. And then he was going to do the same thing. So then we met in May of 2023, primarily to see if we wanted to work with each other, if we could work with each other, if it was going to be more hassle than it worth, because are we both prima donnas? People can add stress to your life, and neither of us we've been at this 30 years. We don't need more stress, right?
Right.
So we had this great meeting. I pitched my idea. He pitched his. We decided jointly to do his idea, and we hammered out most of the specifics on the idea that eventually became Remain. So then I didn't hear anything until August of 2024, just a year ago, August. So not that long ago. And he calls me up and he says, I think this is going to be my next movie, which means he's going to write, direct, and produce. And so I say, oh, then I guess I'm going to do a novel, because he didn't know what we were going to do. What were we going to do together? Was I going to write a short story and he would produce it? Was I going to do a novella? Were we going to do a TV show? We didn't know. Anyway, he said, this is going to be my next movie. So I decided to do a novel. So he works on the screenplay for about 6 weeks, from late August till about October 12th. I talk to him 2 or 3 times a week. I'm cheerleading, I'm brainstorming, I'm doing whatever.
And are you guys making sure that you're on similar pages? No pun intended?
We already knew what the story was, because we had hammered that out in May of the previous year. So then I get the script and I say, okay, this is great. This is exactly the story we talked about. But I'm in a different medium. I have more room for backstory. I have more runway. I can hop into the characters' heads a little bit more. So I set aside the novel I was working on and started writing Remain in October, all of a sudden on a very big deadline, finish it in January. This was just last January. Go through the editing process. Here we are. The book's coming out. The movie's already been filmed, and he's in the editing room. The novel's coming out, and the film will be out in 2026. Very fast.
That's such a tight timeline. To you wrote the book starting in October and it's coming out the following October, basically.
Why do you have any separation between the book and the movie coming out? Because I would think it would be fun to have them both released at the same time.
Primarily because you want to have a couple of lives on the book. Basically, you want to have a hardcover life and then a paperback life. Okay. So if you see the cover of Remain, right? So it's really pretty and it's a great book cover. But so we'll have that cover. That'll be the hardcover. And then when the paperback comes along, well, now we're probably going to see Jake and Phoebe on the
I see, right. So
on the paperback version.
So Jake Gyllenhaal starring in the movie with Phoebe Dynevor, right?
Or Dynevor, I think.
Dynevor?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The girl from Bridgerton who, she's really good. Okay. So as a writer, I mean, first of all, you're responsible for so many broken hearts. I just want to come out and say that. I don't know. I mean, there must have been so many couples that read your books or leave the theater after seeing these movies and just leave their boyfriends. They're like, where's my fucking message in a bottle? I could only imagine, because I remember as a young person when I would read something really romantic, because these books aren't lusty. It's not smutty. I mean, they're love stories. You're kind of known for writing romantic novels, right? And not all of them have happy endings.
Right.
So it's not like it's just always the same formula, but I would imagine that you've gotten a lot of feedback about setting a standard of love and romance at a certain level that a lot of men probably can't attain or can't measure up to.
I have heard such stories at my book signings, right? They're like, where's my Noah, or where's my John from Dear John, or where's my Landon from A Walk to Remember? I do hear those stories. And at the same time, I think in the course of my career, I've had 7 marriage proposals in lines to sign my book.
Oh, really?
They'll get up to the table, the dude will drop to his knees, and I feel so bad for him. I'm like, dude, you're in a Walmart in Birmingham, Alabama. You really want to propose at a Walmart in Birmingham or something like that? But it's happened, and I get a lot of letters also from people who say that the stories either remind me of their love story or someone they love. I can't tell you how many people said, The Notebook is the story of my grandparents, or the story of my parents, or I lost my sister, or I lost the love of my life to cancer, or I was, in love with a girl and she left me because, I was deployed too long, like happened in Dear John. And so, you get a lot more of those kinds of stories than people coming up and saying, I've ruined men for the rest, which I'm glad. I would feel bad if that was more common, actually.
No, that's what you come to Dear Chelsea for.
Yeah.
To get upbraided. Okay, so how did you begin did you set out wanting to become a romance novelist?
No, I was a regular guy. I was a good student, right? Let's see, how far back? I was regular suburban family, high school valedictorian. I was also a pretty good runner. I got a full scholarship to the University of Notre Dame for track and field. Broke the school record there. Still hold it, by the way, after 40 years.
Wow, no one's broken
That's
your
awesome.
record?
Not for 40 years.
Oh, wow, that's lucky. Yes.
Look, they've had the horse races. They just haven't had the horses, right? That's what I like to say. And let's see, I spent the first few years after graduation trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was writing on the side. I wrote a novel when I was 19 and another at 22.
Was it a romance novel at 19?
No, first one was a horror novel and the second one was a murder mystery.
Okay.
So when we look at Remain, right, a little supernatural, little mystery, see, goes right back to my roots. Then I was selling pharmaceuticals, had a midlife crisis, about 27 years old. What am I doing with my life? And I decided to give writing another shot because those first novels had been unpublished, and I wrote The Notebook, and here we are.
Oh, God. Well, let's talk about that, because I can't tell you how many times we've had callers come in that are working jobs that are dissatisfying, and they want to take a leap of faith and get into their creative zone and do something like write a novel or write a book, and they're always torn and betwixt and between. So let's just talk about that moment in time for you personally when you were a pharmaceutical rep and how you made the decision to just kind of take a huge leap like that.
Oh, well, thank you for giving me way more kudos than I deserve.
Well, you already pumped up your track record. I mean, I'm just trying to support the storytelling.
I'm really proud of that track record.
I mean, we're all proud of you right now. Look at this.
So at that time I was married. I had 2 kids, and my second son he was real young. He was months old, and he was not a good sleeper. So he was up all night, basically. So my wife at the time, Kathy, she was going to bed very early, maybe 8:00, because she wanted to get maybe 3 or 4 hours because she knew she was going to be awake the rest of the night. So I was kind of alone. I would work my job during the day, but then I have a choice. It's 8 p.m. I can watch TV or chase a dream. I said, I'm going to chase a dream.
It's so funny.
Off goes the TV and then I begin to write. So I wrote that in the evenings and maybe one morning on a weekend when the family hadn't yet decided what we were all going to do, go to the beach or whatever. And over a period of 6 months while working, I finished the novel. Now get this, I'd finished it. Then I had to go do the agent thing and work with her and edit the book. And I sold it in October of 1995, a year before it came out. Sold it for, the advance was really big back then. It's kind of big now. It was like $1 million.
How did you get $1 million for your first book?
Yeah, $1 million for the first book. It was The Notebook. It's The Notebook.
I know, but was there a bidding war created? Like, how did?
Yeah, everybody wanted it, and there was a bidding war. I get $1 million, and the book doesn't come out for a year. But at that time, yes, that's a great deal of money. But when I was pretty good in math, and I was a business finance major, and you do the math, you're like, okay, after agent, 15%, and then
you're singing to the choir. I got it.
Taxes.
It's not what it is. It's half.
And then I say, okay, I got enough to pay off my very reasonable $200,000 mortgage. I have enough to put money away for my kids to go to college. I got enough to maybe put some in retirement. But that's about it. I'm 28 years old and I'm going to have to turn on the lights and eat food the rest of my life. So I don't quit my job, and I don't even tell anyone at work that I've just basically won the lottery here. I worked for another year until October 1996. Now the book comes out, and now I have to tell everybody because I'm on CBS This Morning and I'm in all the newspapers. My boss finds out. So I did not quit until then. I think The Notebook had been on the list for 14 weeks. It was February of 97 that I quit. And I wasn't even willing to quit then, except Message in a Bottle was going very well. And the publisher had made an offer on that one. And it was more than I had earned for The Notebook. And I said, okay, maybe I can make a living doing this. So way less bravery than you give me credit for. I kind of played both sides, I guess.
So you were able to basically write 2 books while you were working as a pharmaceutical rep.
Yeah. I was about half done with Message in a Bottle when it was sold. But yeah.
I do think that's such great advice. And it is what we've told people in the past is like, you don't have to like quit your job and then go try to be an actor or whatever your thing is. It's like, keep doing what you can do while you're still like keeping the lights on, like you said.
Well, and I had 2 children, right? And my wife was not working at the time. We'd made the joint decision that she would stay home when the kids were little. So it just seemed like the logical choice. And, writing a novel, it's a lot of work and it's a challenge and this and that. But depending on how long it is, if you're not writing War and Peace, it's reasonable. Like when I sit down to write, I try to write 2,000 words.
Okay.
Well, a typical novel is 100,000 words. So it might take me, let's say, 130,000 to get the 100,000 that I keep, right? Well, that's 65 days of writing over a 365-day year, right?
That's good. That's
and even with
specific.
The Notebook, let's say The Notebook wasn't even that. The Notebook, I think, was about 50 to 60,000 words. So even if I'm only writing it 1,000 words a day, of course, I had time in the evenings, right? You crank out 500 words or 1,000 words. Eventually, the novel's going to get done. I think it's more because I had written a couple of novels earlier in life that were never published. I never went to the keyboard and said to myself, there was never the thought that I wasn't going to finish. There was the thought, am I good? Am I going to be any good?
Is anyone
Am I
gonna
going to be
see it?
terrible?
Yeah.
There was thought there, but not the thought that I wasn't going to finish. So, hey, a little bit closer. Hey, a little bit closer.
Okay, now a real question. Do you cry when you watch your movies that have been made into movies? Did you cry during The Notebook?
Yeah, of course. You got to cry at the end, right? I don't think, look, I'm not weeping and reaching for tissues, but I get a little teary. I got teary at the Notebook musical too. I mean, they just did such a beautiful job.
And what about when you reread your material? Like
at times, sure, I'll get choked up sometimes. And of course, I don't reread all the time. I'm not that vain, but I'll pick up a book. When you first finish a novel, you don't want to see the thing for about 5 years. It's just like the worst friend ever. He just abused you for years and you're done with him, right? So you got to give it some space.
Well, and nowadays when you publish a book, it's like, okay, you finish a book, it's a labor of love. Then, you go through the editing process, which is less
Creatively fulfilling.
Yes. It's just kind of tedious. And it's an important part of the process, but it's not like, I don't know why I'm acting like I'm from Canada saying process. But anyway, it's an important part of it, but it's not a fulfilling part. It's like, I like learning about language and sentence structure and making sure I'm using the right words and the most powerful words when that's, appropriate. But also then the book is done. Then you have to shoot the cover. Then you have to agree on a cover. Then they send you 10,000 book slips now. This is the new thing where they send you 10,000 book slips, which are the slips that are the first sheets that go into the book. And you have to sign 10,000 fucking copies. And that really takes the joy out of the entire process.
And gives you carpal tunnel.
Yeah, I've often joked about that. People they'll say, what do you do? I say, I'm a writer. And they say, well, what do you write? I say, well, mainly I write my name over and over.
Over and over and over again, yeah.
I just got V.E. Schwab's new book. She did The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and she did 30,000 for her. I'm like, that's too many.
Somebody needs
it's too many.
The next time, I threw my back out twice, signing my last 10,000 batch of books. The next time I write a book, I need to be suspended from the ceiling, preferably a ceiling fan, in some sort of suspension gear where my back is not positioned in an awkward way, so I could just go like this. Because, you could stamp them, but nobody wants to do that when you care about your readers. You want to, know. So, it's not that you're pigeonholed in romance novels, but you've kind of chosen to write those books. Do you feel at all like that's what you're supposed to write, or do you feel pigeonholed in any way?
Look, I write because I want people to read them. And look, I know what my readers have liked, and so I try to write in kind of that. But there's less pigeonholing than you'd think. there's because I try to make each novel very different, even though we know the idea is very simple. It's a love story. It's going to be set in North Carolina. But other than that, I want it to be as different as possible. So I'll write some in first person, some in third person, some in third person limited omniscient. I'll do some with A stories and B stories that collide in the end in a way a reader don't expect. I'll do epic novels. I'll do characters in their teens or their ones in their 40s or characters in their 80s. I'll have happy endings, bittersweet endings, and sad endings. I'll have tragedy in other forms. With that said, I also vary the themes. So some might be love and danger. The one Remain here is love and the supernatural. I've done love and mystery. So the great thing when you're just really writing about human emotion is I have a great ability to add the elements of all kinds of different stories, right? I've had soldiers in my novels. I've had mysteries in my novels. I've had arsons, in my novels. So all sorts of different things. So while it is pigeonholing, yeah, it's a love story in North Carolina, aside from Remain, which is set in Cape Cod. It's okay. What I would tell people is, even though it's those two things, it's different than anything else I've ever done. There's going to be other themes you don't expect, and you won't see the ending coming. And there's a lot of challenge in that, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the key things you said is instead of your wife goes to bed at 8 p.m. when you had the little kids, and you had a choice to sit on the sofa and watch television or shut the TV off and write a fucking book. And I think therein lies your answer. You could be, I wrestle with this all the time. Yesterday, I was reading my friend's book who's coming on the podcast, and I was like, I went to go turn on the TV, and the TVs weren't working. I'm in this rental house, and they weren't working. The cable was down, and I was like, oh. And then I was like, well, I could possibly read a book, idiot. So I went and I got the book and I read a chapter, and then I saw the TVs come on, and I'm like, you have a choice right now. You can either continue reading, which is better for your brain, or be mindless. Watching TV can be so numbing. And, it's very rare that there is an incredible show out there now. I mean, there's a lot of shows out there, but to get a really good one. So, but I think therein lies the difference. You do have to make the choice to do the work, in order to take the chance to try something new. You have to put the effort in.
Yeah. And of course, these days, you also have to put down the phone. Which,
yeah, right.
I think some people might spend more time, in front of a screen than a TV screen. I don't know. I'm not. It seems like it, especially. So you have to now put two things down, I guess, to chase a dream.
How do you manage your phone, Nicholas?
Oh, it's not a big deal. Once you get into, look, I'll fart around on my phone just like everybody does, but I probably, I work out a couple hours a day. I probably read 2 or 3 hours a day. I work 5 or 6 hours a day, and I'm on the phone talking to friends or visiting with friends, not every day. I'm not that social, but, enough in the course of a week. So, and then, you're sleeping and you're on your phone the rest of the time, usually playing games. I'm a big backgammon nut, so I play a lot of backgammon.
Okay. And so do you write 5 to 6 hours a day? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's about 5 on days that I write, but I don't write every day.
Do you write first thing in the morning?
I write after coffee and after my workout.
Oh, okay. Interesting. We talked to Mitch Albom last week, and he writes first thing in the morning. And I was telling him about this book that I had picked up years ago called Daily Rituals, which talks about all these famous kind of authors, physicists, philosophers, and what their kind of work ethics were. And a lot of them just get up, 5 in the morning, and they work for 3 hours, and then they're done for the rest of the day. Their creative juice is pretty much there just first thing in the morning. I'm a first thing in the morning kind of person. That's when I get my best shit done.
Well, I'm an early riser. Yeah, I'm usually up about 4:30 or 5 most mornings.
Oh, wow.
But I can't start my day without coffee, and I like to get my prayers in and get my dog out because I like my dog too, and I like to exercise. I know if I'm not. After I'm done writing, I'm too tired to exercise, so I got to write first.
Yeah.
And, so I'm usually in front of the computer, not late, about 9, and it's not 5 or 6 hours, it's usually 3 to 5. Today, I think it was like 3. It really depends. But I don't write every day. Some days I edit, and some days I'm just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. So, and that it's not a faucet that you can turn on. I say with my way of describing writing a novel is you have to know what to write. That's part of it. And then you have to know how to write it. Now, if you know what you're doing, the how, you can always get through that. It may take more or less time than you think. But if you don't know what to do, man, there's no reason to put any words down at all. I think I spent 3 or 4 days trying to figure out what the next 500 or 700 words were in this novel, and didn't do anything for 3 days or 4 days. And boom, the 700 words came in like 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I wish I could turn it on and off like a faucet, but I don't understand.
So the idea, you're saying the idea has to come to you and then you can put it to paper. You have to have a direction.
Right. Exactly. If you don't know what you're writing and what would work exactly best within all these other ideas about what the novel is supposed to be, not only what specific, like, how do I describe this thing, this particular passage of time without being repetitive or boring, and knowing that I have to do this again in a couple of chapters where I am going to have to use this one way to do it. But what's the other way to do it? And how can I do it? And what's a new way? And what's going to be interesting and flow? And I had no idea. It took a little editing on what I'd already written. And then, okay, I was ready to write the words, and they just literally poured out.
I love it. I love it. As somebody who writes a lot of romance novels, what is the most romantic gesture that you've ever done for someone else?
Oh, gosh. There's,
Or one that's been done for you.
Yeah. It's funny. When I was married, what my Kathy liked at the time was because we had children, right? We had 2 and then we had 3 more. So we had 5 kids. So it was always a very bustly, busy house. And what she really most appreciated were evenings off, like where she could just, you take care of the kids. I don't want to feed them the whole bit, all the way into bed, do this one soccer practice and do this with the others. I just want to sit on the back porch for a while. Then I want to take a long tub. Then I want to go lay in bed and watch brainless TV and then pass out. So I made a point to do those kinds. That's what she swore she wanted more than anything.
Yeah, I think that's real life romance.
And she told me that was romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I can
world.
appreciate that that's romantic. I mean, I'm not interested in getting flowers from a lover. Like, I find actual traditional, and I don't even have children, but I find very traditional romantic things unnecessary. It's really those deeper meaning, like very thoughtful gestures that really actually make a difference in everybody's lives. When you really know somebody and what they need, that's real love and romance. Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to be right back with Nicholas Sparks. And we're already back with Nicholas Sparks. How quick was that?
The wonders of technology.
The wonders of the interweb.
They never cease to amaze me.
I know, Zoom.
I love it.
Whoever came up with Zoom and whoever came up with DocuSign and whoever came up with an air fryer, I need to personally thank all of those people, because those are 3 of the biggest game changers in my life in the last 3 years. Yes.
All right. What do you put in your air fryer?
Anything, everything. I can't cook, so I put anything in there.
Okay. I like that.
I have one of those, it's like an oven, toaster oven, also air fryer. So you can turn it on toast or you can turn it on air fryer. I mean, I don't know how to change the settings, so it's always on air fryer.
I got you. Well, air fryers are great. They're especially great when it comes to reheating things.
Yeah. That's usually what I'm doing anyway, is reheating.
And literally, that I will be using my air fryer tonight, so I'm with you.
There's nothing better than seeing, if I love salmon, I love chicken, putting it in just for 2 minutes and just hearing the sizzle to get the crispiness.
Crispy.
I'm like, oh my
Microwave
God,
doesn't get it crispy.
This is all I've ever wanted was crispy food. That's really that's what I want. Yeah.
I agree. Amazing. And yeah, I'm with you on the others too. I like DocuSign and Zoom. They're very handy. I remember I used to get a lot of contracts that I used to have to sign because
annoying.
I'm published in 50 different languages.
Oh, right.
So for every book you're getting this, and then I get FedEx is this thick, just filled with contracts I have to sign.
Yeah.
Now it's click, click, click. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, DocuSign is really the best, the best thing that's ever happened. I mean, not to have to sit there with somebody with a notary and sign contracts. I'm like, oh my God, and fingerprints. I'm like, no. And once you check into it's like a commercial for DocuSign. Once you check into DocuSign and give them your first signature, that's it.
It just does it.
It's just over. I'm like, oh my God, I just want, I want to perform for that person in some whatever way they want me to.
Listen, I will find the CEO of DocuSign and get you guys.
Thank you. Nicholas, this is the part of the show where we take questions from callers, okay?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, our first question comes from Keisha. She says, hi, Chelsea and Catherine and any other beautiful folks who read this. I'm a writer. I'm actually a sometimes part-time, sometimes contract, sometimes unpaid, sometimes for myself writer, and have been for many years. I'm in my 30s and make my money in a career that's not writing. That said, my writing has been published, and I've been paid for my writing for over a decade now. Here's what I want to get a read on. Are any freelancers currently making it out there? Do you really have to have a whole online persona, read impressive Instagram or TikTok, to get traction these days? The best luck I've had to make a career, i.e. money, is copywriting in my technical field subject matter. It's extremely sanitized, and I obviously can't put much of a stamp on anything. Should I just be grateful I'm getting paid to write at all? And why is this reading like a diary entry? Dear Chelsea, I'm interested in thoughts and advice to advance my writing career or perhaps to redefine it. Very, very best, Keisha. I thought about making this anonymous, but isn't that antithetical to my whole thing?
Yes. You can't be anonymous, Keisha. But actually, we were just having this very conversation. This is our special guest, Nicholas Sparks, is here today.
Hi, wow, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Hi there, how are you?
He was
Just the person.
Yeah, exactly. Nicholas, tell her what you were telling us, please.
Well, when I first began writing, I ended up writing my novels in my spare time after work. Usually in the evening, I would write from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock or maybe even midnight. And then I'd work my regular shift. I'd also write one day on the weekend. I had a wife and I had 2 young children at home. And I really felt like writing was important to me. I wanted to chase a dream, so I made time for it. So I think if I was you, I would to really start and really answer the very first question is, what kind of writing do you want to do? Do you want to be a novelist? Do you want to be one of the people that, let's say, publishing houses call to write a famous person's biography? Do you want to be an anonymous biographer? Do you want to be someone who publishes on Substack and journalistic pieces? What kind of writer do you want to be? And I think until you're clear about exactly the kind that you want to be, you're probably just better doing what you're doing and mastering the skills that you're developing. Because as you said, you do some copy you do some writing on your own, you do some writing that gets published, and that's all great. All of writing is a skill and you do need to practice it. And it's wonderful that not only do you get paid a little bit to do it, but you also make time to write what you want to write. So once you decide then what you want to write, then you have to break it down further. Can I ask what your dream writing thing would be? Screenplays, novels, nonfiction? What are you thinking?
What I've really enjoyed that I've actually been able to do has been some short stories, some short format fiction. The problem is obviously like short format as a medium is kind of shrinking. We'll see how that goes. But I have actually really enjoyed that. I kind of like those sort of kernel storytelling. It's very powerful to me. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
I do have like half a novel geared towards adults that I actually found not that fun. And then there's like a little bit longer, maybe middle children age books that I have been really getting into. I have a little kid now that I didn't used to. And now I'm thinking about like sort of stories that I sort of tell her and like, how would that change? Like when she's like in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th grade and how fun that would be. And I'm actually really enjoying sort of plotting that out. And I'm a morning person. So I like what you're saying about you would carve out your time in the evenings. Honey, I'm in bed. But what I do, and I love that you said that, is I do tend to get up around 4:30 or 5 nowadays. And everybody else is asleep till 7.
Yeah.
I think I should make more of an effort to protect that. Right.
Sure. That's a great thing. And you're right. Short story fiction is really tough these days, but it's been tough for probably 20 or 30 years. With that said, it's a wonderful way to develop your storytelling ability. What you might consider is maybe taking, and this is an idea, and feel free to throw this out because it's not good. But you think of some of these ideas that you're thinking about for your daughter, maybe in second or third grade, and fairy tales or whatever adventure tale or a mystery tale, right? What if you actually compile those and you're not trying to just publish one story in an offbeat magazine, but you eventually try to publish those stories as a collection, an anthology. Or another option is to perhaps, and you don't have to take these ideas, is to perhaps, if you so much enjoy short story fiction, think of a broad story with multiple characters and somehow tell a dozen short stories that all come together at the end.
I love that.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you could chase your dream, but of course, we only have so much time, and good for you for really developing your skill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. That's great advice. I was going to say one of those things, not the second one, which is even better advice than the first one. I mean, you can combine all of those stories and make that a big book, or you can make one, all of these stories within one big book. But you could have a book of short stories. Those are still relevant, and also just like. I had this conversation with a group of women from Silicon Valley last night. We had a tech kind of meeting, and it's kind of like, I hate letting the market dictate what you're going to bring to it. When you have a talent and you have a desire, do what you love to do and bring it to the marketplace. Don't let whatever's popular or not popular dictate what you're going to do in your spare time. You have the spare time. That's the first thing you need. You have the time in the morning, as you already mentioned. Just use that time, dedicate that time to really focusing on one of those two options that Nick mentioned. And I think, in a couple of months, you're going to be farther down the road. Listen, children's books are always going to be viable. They're always going to be selling. People always want a nice parable or an adventure series. That's something you can make more and more out of in success. Remember Ramona? What was her name? Ramona. Those were the books.
Ramona Beasley.
Yeah. Other than Judy Blume, Ramona and The Cat Ate My Jumpsuit was Judy Blume. But then there was another series with Ramona who was always in trouble. And I love that. But when you're thinking about children's stories, that's something that's kind of always has the potential to resonate. So it's really about picking exactly where you're going to put your energy into and just giving yourself that time every day and doing it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think sometimes you just need somebody to say, keep going, keep doing it. And also the whole thing about, building a platform, I think that's part of where it does get a little bit rough, because it's you're kind of going to the marketplace, what's marketable? Am I marketable? It's cart before the horse. And so that can be pretty kind of a bummer. But I like that you guys are don't even think about that right now.
Yeah. And also don't make it a bummer, make it an adventure, make it okay, fun. Okay. I'm going to go online. I'm going to go on my social media platform and ask people, what would they like the most? Would you like a short story for your second or third grader, or a book about being, a young person or a young child? Would you maybe you could get feedback that way, but don't be worried about the response of anybody at this point. Just be worried about moving towards your goal, because what you said in the letter is should I be satisfied writing this kind of sanitized stuff? No, you shouldn't be satisfied with that. That's a way for you to make money, but you should go after your dreams. We only have a short time here. You might as well make them count for you.
I forget where I heard this, but recently I read something that said something along the lines of your desires are what bring you toward your purpose. So don't discount that you do want more than that.
And like Mr. Spark said, it counts. It's good experience. I'm definitely learning. Self-editing is a really big tool that I've learned a lot from copywriting.
Yeah. Edit to amplify. Amplify.
Yeah, for sure. It's also just hard. You start to get older and you start to think it all ties into sort of youth culture and taking up these audience numbers on these sort of arbitrary formats that maybe that's not your thing. It's not really my thing.
No, but it doesn't matter. But also on this, on the subject of age, like that is, there's a
Yeah.
million people that are your age. Who cares about what young people are doing?
Right.
Focus on the people that you're going to be like, servicing. Like focus on your group of people. Don't worry about what people who are 20 and 30 years old are doing. That's not relevant to you. So I just like, don't forget there's a bunch of other people. It's not like you have to be this new, young, fresh, hot thing all of the time. That's not real. That's just what we've been served up. So just enjoy like where you are in your life, appreciate it. You have the passion and now you just need the commitment and the drive.
Well, I really appreciate that. And you're a great testament to that of you're not chasing anything. You've grown and developed sort of based on your interests. And that's been really powerful to see.
Oh, well, I love that. Thank you.
Will you follow up with us?
Yes, keep us posted.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much. I hope you have a good one.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Keisha.
Good writing question for us,
Yeah.
for our special guest today, especially.
Yes. Well, this next question isn't about writing, but it is about a family secret. And I feel like you are someone who is a specialist in juicy secrets.
in fictional family secrets.
Fictional families, but sure.
Unless you have some real ones you want to spill, Nicholas.
Well, our next question comes from Lynn. She says, Dear Chelsea, 3.5 years ago, I rekindled my relationship with my older sister without telling the rest of my family. She was 9 when I was born, and as a little girl, I idolized her. My love of tie-dye and the Grateful Dead comes straight from her in the 80s. When she was applying to colleges, there was a huge fight between her and my parents. My parents told her they couldn't afford to pay the tuition to the college of her dreams. There were some harsh words on both sides. It destroyed their relationship, and she cut herself off from my family. Growing up, I asked questions about why I no longer saw her and basically was told it was her choice to be so selfish. Years later, her husband actually wrote me a letter and told me that she missed me and would like to have a relationship with just me. I hate to admit it, but at the time I was not ready for that. I was still under the impression that my dad was perfect, and I told her as much when I called her. I was awful and so hurtful. After I had my own kids, though, it started to dawn on me that parents are just doing the best they can. In fact, I started thinking that it was my parents who fucked up more than my sister.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
At 18, she was a child when the rift happened, and it all just made me so sad. I felt like I was missing a piece for 30 years, and I just flat out missed my big sister. So I reached out online, and we agreed to meet. Over the last 3 years, we have become so close again. We have a ton of similarities beyond just how much we look alike. We're both teachers, same political beliefs. We love cats over dogs, even our mannerisms. We've become part of each other's families. Here is my problem. All of this has happened in secret on my side. I haven't told my parents or younger sister that I have a relationship with my older sister. And at first, it was to protect the fragile relationship I was trying to form, but now it's just out of worry and guilt. She wants nothing to do with my parents or younger sister, and I worry about hurting my dad, who is in the early stages of dementia. I would keep this a secret forever, but now my kids have formed a relationship with my older sister and her family too. We're very close with my parents, and my kids see them every day. I feel awful having them lie to my parents when we have plans with my older sister and her family. I don't want my older sister to be some guilty secret. Do I confess to my parents and younger sister? And if so, how do I do it in a way that's not going to hurt their feelings since I've been hiding this from them for years? Help, Lynn.
Hi, this is Nicholas Sparks, our special guest today.
Hi.
And yeah, do you want me to answer this question?
Would you like to go first? You're welcome to.
I don't think I have the expertise to answer such a question, other than to say some general guidelines. You know, if you're still close with your parents, I don't see how you can continue to lie to them. Right? What they do with information is going to be up to them. They might be reasonable, they might not be, but I certainly don't think it's good that your kids have now kind of got caught up into it. Not like they're lying to them, but when you're going to go see the sister and her family and they have to lie about that, I always kind of lead my life, and I really do, and most everyone who's very close with me would agree with this, is, look, this is who I am. I'd rather you know the real me and choose to have a relationship with me or like me or dislike me after this. But here's the real me. And I don't try to hide that. And I don't recall ever losing someone with that kind of honesty that was important to me. Now, I don't know your parents, and they might be that kind. But I would say, you think you have a relationship with your parents, but they don't even know the real you. They have a relationship with a facade of you. And I'm older than you. So I just don't really care anymore here I am. And if you don't like me, you don't want to talk to me anymore. Okay, good on you. Wish you well.
Lynn, can I ask you, this all happened because of college? Because they had a disagreement over where she was going to go to college?
Yeah.
Are your parents religious or something? Like, is there... I just can't believe
one blow up.
Yeah, one blow up, and they're so close with the rest of the family, and they just extricated. She was like ostracized from the family for the rest of her life.
So it wasn't that she was, well, I mean, I guess she was kind of ostracized. So now I was 9. So this is, I've piecemealed it back together a little bit. And we've talked a little bit about it, but we've just tried to kind of move on. That was, I guess, the biggest argument that set her over the edge to be like, you don't even care about me going to college. Therefore, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I want nothing to do with you. So she removed herself from the relationship, and my parents just basically pretended she never existed after that, as did the rest of my dad's side of the family.
Yeah, honestly, it's not your problem. The fact that you reconnected with your sister is beautiful. And that's exactly what you should do. And you should probably encourage your younger sister to reconnect with your sister too. Because anybody who can write their own child off at 18 years old that's not right, you know? And I mean, obviously that sounds like I'm passing judgment on your parents, but like, I agree with Nick, like you want to be upfront. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing, reconnecting with one of your family members who was kind of taken out of your life as a 9-year-old kid. I lost my brother at 9. Like, it's not the same circumstance, but I would do anything to be able to reconnect with him, to be able to have a conversation with him. You know, like, of course, that's a natural instinct. That's a natural way for a human being to relate to another person in your family. And your father is in the beginning stages of dementia. That's unfortunate, but it's also not your responsibility to take care of your parents' feelings. You're an adult who has children that you want to set an example for, right?
I completely agree. So I have intentions of telling my parents. Like, I feel bad that I've waited 4 years to tell them. I'm just trying to figure out at this point how to do it without hurting their feelings.
Dropping a bomb.
I have an idea.
Okay.
It's the best way. Go over, have a nice day with them. And then when there's 10 minutes to go until you have to leave, send the kids to the car, talk to them. You'll give them a hug, say, oh, before I go, you should really know this. Tell them, then go get in the car. Let those two deal with it without you having to see their reaction. Okay? And then call, a couple days or whatever your call schedule is. Say, hey, mom, hey, dad, how are you doing? Or whatever you do. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's a
I love
great idea.
that.
Sit down and say, okay, we're going to talk about this for the next 3 hours. No, this is more of you're not doing anything wrong. You tell them, and then you let those two deal with it.
Yeah, that's great. I also think some of the guilt of this is coming from like how long it's been. I think get nebulous on that detail.
Just say, look, I've reconnected with her. And we've become pretty close. And I just thought that you should know that. I just didn't feel, I felt it wouldn't be good of me to lie. I don't want to raise my kids, knowing this lie. And I just wanted you to know that we've reconnected. We're really getting along. My kids like her kids. And I think she's a terrific, wonderful person. Done. Walk to the car.
How do you feel about that, Lynn?
Yeah, no, I feel like I could do that for sure. I actually had talked to my therapist about ways as well to try and just like drop the truth bomb and run. The funny thing is I'm horrible at keeping secrets. So the fact that this is a secret that I've been keeping is like eating me alive. So.
Yeah. I mean, I would also just not, you don't have to explain every single detail. You know what I mean? You just kind of give them the information that's absolutely necessary and walk to the car and do that. And then follow up with them a couple of days later. And if they don't want to talk to you for a while, then they don't want to talk to you for a while. But it's better just to tell the truth, and also for the sake of your children, you know what I mean? You just have to demonstrate how you want them to go through life. And lies are the worst, and they always come out. Everyone finds out about everything. So I don't understand why people continue to lie. But I mean, I understand your situation, but just, you want to live in truth.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, good luck with everything. Let us know how it goes.
Lynn.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back with Nicholas Sparks. How do you like our therapy session so far, Nicholas?
Wow, these are tricky questions.
Seriously.
I don't know that I'd like to do this like you guys do. I don't want to give people advice. I barely can handle my life, let alone try to help other people with their lives.
No shit. I mean, I wish I gave the advice I give to other people to myself because it's much different. What do we have to wrap up?
Well, we do have one last question.
Okay.
So Carrie says, Dear Chelsea, I've never really referred to myself as an artist, but I've always needed to outwardly express myself. I love to sing, dance, draw, and I was a gymnast as a young girl. I've been through a lot in my 56 years. My mother is white and Jewish, and my father is black. Growing up in the suburbs of New York in the 70s and 80s, there were no other families that resembled mine. I grew thick skin and learned how to thrive in survival mode. I subscribe to the belief that we can all be happy, but we must do the work on ourselves in order to live a happy life. I have often thought about writing my story of resilience to share with others with the hopes of inspiring people who've struggled. 2 years ago, my husband and I went to DC for his college reunion with a group of friends. We stayed in a big Victorian house and hung out. A few of us were in a transition phase and longing for something, but not sure what it was or how to achieve it. One of our friends suggested we do an exercise. We had to describe our dream life 5 years from now as if it had already happened. I told them that my husband and I have been traveling all over the world. I blurted out that I had written a New York Times bestseller and I was currently on my book tour. I had toyed with the idea of writing a book but had never said the words out loud. When we got home, I committed to writing daily and began with essays about my childhood, adulthood, trauma, all of it. I kept at it and eventually there was a book. Here's my issue. I haven't reread the book since I finished it or taken the next steps to find an editor. I'm very proud of myself for this achievement. I know it's a big deal. I also know that my stories will resonate with so many, as the struggles I've been through are not uncommon, and my basic message is that we can get through anything. I realize that it is the fear of revealing myself and being vulnerable that's holding me back. Do you have any advice on how to push through the fear and take the next steps? Carrie.
Yeah, walk through that door, Carrie. You got to walk. I mean, fear is there to face the challenge. I look at fear always as a challenge that I will overcome. If I'm scared of something, I move towards it even more forcefully. Unless you want to keep this book to yourself, you're going to have to take the steps to get it read by people and to get some feedback and some direction. Nicholas, what's your advice for a first-time author trying to get their stuff read?
Self-edit. If you haven't even read the book since you've done it,
you have to go back and read it.
I cannot tell you guys how many times I edit everything that I write.
Right.
I edit every fourth sentence. I go back and edit those 4. I edit every clump of 2 pages. I edit from the beginning, clump of 10 pages. Then I go back and I edit from the beginning once I hit a section. Then my agent edits. Then I edit. Then I edit some more. I would say every sentence in every one of my novels, I've probably examined closely, word by word, and within the context of a page or chapter 15 times. So, and I did the same prior to trying to even find an agent or a publisher for The Notebook. If you're going to try to find an agent who are very selective, because lots of people want to have books published, or you want to try to get your novel published by a big publishing house who also have thousands and thousands and thousands of submissions, you're not doing yourself any favors by not handing them the very best possible work that you could do.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to reread your book also. You have to go because I know you think like, oh, you're done, you have a book. That's everything he says is absolutely true. And also you can give it to a couple of people, get some feedback. That'll help you with your editing perhaps. But you definitely have to get it out there. Like the fear of showing it to people. I mean, you got to get past that. You have to be open to criticism and constructive critique. Like you just have to be open to it. That's part of the process. So good luck to you. And hopefully we'll hear about your book in the future coming out and being published. And that's our episode for today. You guys, everyone go out and get Remain, the novel by Nicholas Sparks with M. Night, not Shaka Khan, Shyamalan. And it's going to come out as a movie, so you want to make sure you read the book before you see the movie. That's the order of business out here. Thank you so much, Nicholas. What a pleasure to speak with you.
Hey, thank you for having me. And you did. You said his name exactly right. I listened.
Thank you.
Shyamalan. That is exactly how you say it.
Wonderful.
I'm going to tell him you know how now.
Yeah, please. Let him know. Please. Okay, take care, Nicholas.
Hey, thanks.
So much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.